Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Fourth day of Ignite. You're probably exhausted and overwhelmed with a lot of information. This is the session about tenant admin for SharePoint. My name is Zohar, and I'm one of the GPMs on the SharePoint team. And with me is Mahesh, one of the PMs in our group. And we're going to entertain you for the next hour and a bit. The plan is to do roughly about an hour of demos and slides, and then leave 15 minutes for questions. So feel free to keep your questions to the end, and we'll spend time and stay behind if needed to answer all the questions. A quick quiz for me to know the audience. How many of you have seen this interface? Great. So this is the global admin in SharePoint Online. That's exciting. Most of you have seen. How many of you have seen this interface? Great, I apologize. This is the SharePoint existing tenant admin, and this session will kind of walk you through what we're doing in order to delight you. And last question for me to better understand the audience is, how many of you had the chance to see Bill Bear and Navjot's session on yesterday, where they went and introduced some of what we're going to show today? Cool. So we're going to show it again, and we're going to go a little bit deeper and kind of walk through the ideation and what are we going after. And then we're beginning a journey, or began a journey, and today you'll learn a lot more about it. My goal in this session is to have you better informed of what is coming, when is it coming, and what will come after that. So this is the goal for this session. And to open, I'd like to quickly walk through the background and what led us to do this investment. Most of you should have seen the slide if you have seen the 9 a.m. Jeff Teeper keynote. This slide. Our SharePoint has, the last year of SharePoint has been the best year of SharePoint's journey, and it's probably about 16 now. In the last 12 months, we've grown in the cloud more than SharePoint has grown over the first 12 years. We're roughly doubling engagement every year in the cloud, and about 3 times the content is growing. And most of it is thanks to the last 2-3 years of investments in the user experience. So it's much easier now to share documents, to upload documents, to create portal pages. We have become obsessed about the user experience and have a great design team. And all of that is what's bringing a lot of the traffic from on-premises to the cloud. At the same time, if we look at the journey for the administrator, and here I'll kind of share a personal story. This Friday, I'm going to celebrate 10 years in Microsoft in SharePoint. And before that, I spent almost a decade as an IT manager in a large enterprise, 100,000 employees, owning collaboration, building on top of SharePoint from its first version. Used to be called Tahoe, just before it shipped in 2001. And SharePoint has matured throughout that journey and kept growing in breadth and functionality, and making it a little bit harder and harder for deploying SharePoint on-prem and all the settings and the knobs and configuring it. You had to become an expert, a PhD in SharePoint. And in the cloud, things continued to grow. Around 2013, we took the admin experience that we had and we brought it into the cloud as the tenant admin experience, with all its legacy, to make it very familiar for people moving from the cloud to on-prem, from on-prem to the cloud. And we kept building even faster, more and more feature, and putting that in the SharePoint tenant admin, making it extremely complicated. Satya joined around 2015. The theme in Microsoft now is customer obsession, and we're very excited to make the experience for users much better. Me as a customer of SharePoint, I remember SharePoint, if you're still running 2007 or 2010 or 2013 on-prem, it is far behind what we have offered in the cloud, the experience for users and for administrators. So around 2016, we now believe our hashtag was admins are humans too, and we are heavily investing in the admin experience. In 2016, there was a refresh to the Office 365 admin UI. So this experience that I showed in the beginning. This is the refresh. There was a previous version of that. And this is, its goal was to have you spend most of the time here. Except in large organization, there is no one administrator that runs the entire company. So the administrator has the privilege to delegate his responsibilities and give Exchange and SharePoint and Skype different administrators, different capabilities. And that's the UI on the right. And I'll demo that in a second. And then for the SharePoint administrator, as of today, when you log in, you have to administrate your account from roughly 3 to 5 different interfaces to get your deployment correct. So you spend some of the time in the tenant admin, Office 365 admin. Then the advanced capabilities and settings you do in the SharePoint UI. And then many of you, show of hands, how many of you use the SharePoint PowerShell? So many default to the SharePoint PowerShell because the SharePoint admin existing UI is clunky, it's slow, it's very hard to get through. You need a page if you want to find a site. And if you are also responsible on policies and settings, then you need access to the Compliance and Security Center. And that's where you set policies across Office 365. And then the last thing is we started the journey with OneDrive. How many of you are actually deploying OneDrive in your organization? Yeah, so plenty of you should be experienced. There's a OneDrive refreshed admin UI that is supposed to make the OneDrive administration easier, and now we're bringing that to SharePoint. So this is the feedback that we've started getting. I kind of touched on a lot of it. You go to the settings page, it's this endless list that you need to scroll through and really hard to find and discover what's new, and people go there to try and understand what to set where, and it's not easy and simple. The sites management page is not responsive. The biggest flaw there is that it doesn't actually show all the new sites, so com sites or team sites or Microsoft team sites and the new modified groups, unified groups. They don't even render in that page. You need to go somewhere else to do the administration. Our journey that has started about 6 to 9 months ago in doing the refresh, this is kind of our goal. Our goal is to make the SharePoint administrators heroes in their organization, make it extremely simple. So you go there, you could actually finally get a view of how your deployment in your organization is going, and then do the management right there from one interface. And if you need to go to other interfaces, there will be links that would follow your workflow, and you don't need to discover and become experts in all the different admin centers. And with that, let me do a quick demo and show you what we've built. So here I am Sesha, and I'm a global administrator. The way to recognize that I'm a global administrator is if you go to the list of admin centers on the right. I'm actually exposed to the longer list of admin centers. This keeps growing. There's new admin centers that keep joining here, and security compliance is this place. One of the things I can do as a global admin is I could go to the user tab and active users. I'll switch here. Find myself an individual in my organization, and then delegate him, give him responsibilities by going to roles. And then here I get to pick what responsibility that specific individual will have. In this case, it's me. And I get SharePoint administrator rights. And I'm then switching to my other user browser. This is the SharePoint administrator. If you go to the admin centers, he only sees, or I only see OneDrive and SharePoint. So once clicking on SharePoint, today it would take you to this administration UI that you're experienced with. This is a relatively short list that only shows what we call the classic sites. Missing from here is everything I discussed. So I'm here to announce that we are now starting the preview program for, and we'll give details later how to join it, but for the new administration experience. Once you are in preview, or once we reach the date where we would start lighting it up in production for all the tenants, there will be a banner. This might not be the final graphics, but that once clicking on try the new admin experience, it starts rendering relatively quickly the new admin experience. So it's much faster. And we're celebrating for the first time a landing page that gives you a preview to what's going on in your tenant across all the SharePoint site collections, beginning with these graphs or insights analytics where they're interactive so you could see who is syncing, who is viewing. This is files on the left and sites on the right. I could see what sites are what sites are active in my organization, or what is the total sites. And then there's a link from each one of these to details. Once you click on details, it would actually bounce you to the existing Office 365 Reporting Center. How many of you have seen the Report Center or used the Reporting Center today? We'll spend some time during this session talking about the Reporting Center in more details. This is the Reporting Center, and it actually gives you the same view you came from, tailored for SharePoint activity, and with much richer capabilities to zoom in and see what exactly is happening. Back to the SharePoint landing page, other two things that we are shipping with, these are what we call widgets. There's the Message Center, which is taking the messages from the global admin message center that exists today, filtered specifically for the SharePoint admin. In this case, you click on pound and %. This is the new announcement in September 7th when the feature crew, the product group announced that we are now supporting all the characters that exists in Windows, and you can actually take all your My Documents from your computer and drag them into OneDrive or SharePoint, and you will stop getting these red bang errors that things are not working. Messages like this come every few days, and here is where you could stay up to date to all the features. And then last thing I'll show on this is the Service Health widget. Yesterday when we did this dry run, there was nothing here. It was just telling me that the SharePoint experience is green. In this case, you see an advisory. Clicking on the advisory would tell you details specifically of what's going on in the service and what experience is degraded. You could then analyze if it applies to your specific tenant, and if you as an IT administrator needs to announce something inside the organization and tell your users that Microsoft is working on fixing it, this has more and more details and keeps refreshing. So this is a quick high-level view of the landing page as we ship it now. We will continue to build more widgets into it and add capabilities with the goal to give you a portal where you could see exactly what's happening in your company. Other things, this is the navigation, the information architecture. As we ship, we'll talk more in details on the site management and the settings page. And then you have here ability to bounce to the OneDrive admin experience, where in the admin experience for OneDrive, you get settings like sharing or controlling access specifically for the OneDrives. And the last thing I would call out on the SharePoint page is in the new SharePoint page, we're shipping side by side. If you are missing something, because we're not yet supersetting all the things that exist in the old UI, you could always click on go back to the old UI, and it will take you to the experience that you're supposed to be familiar with that exists out there now, and do all the rest of the things. So let me talk a little bit more details on the two things, and then we'll demo in more details the site settings and sharing. Site settings. I think this is our proudest moment. Site setting is a new page. We built it on the modern lists. So if you've enabled modern lists that we've announced about a year ago, you should be totally familiar on how to use this page. And this is the page that is motivating us to ship as early as we are doing now, even though we've not moved everything over. It already empowers administrators to be extremely productive. And two things to call out. This new list has all the sites in your tenant, including groups, MS Teams, com sites. It lets you in one place administrate all of SharePoint content. Second thing, we brought a lot more metadata, so you could actually learn much more about your sites and what's going on, and if there's any action that the IT administrator needs to take action on. Our desire is to empower you to be as efficient as possible, and Mahesh will demo the experience as of now, and we'll continue to build on it. We have a future and a set of things in the backlog to make it even better and better. So these are quick examples of the filtering capabilities you should be familiar with from lists, and we'll demo that. And I'm switching to talk about the settings page. This is the settings page today. It's long, and it keeps building up craft, more and more knobs and radio buttons that you could set things on and off. This has been hard to manage and discover, and this I'm showing is a sample of how the new settings page would look like. So we built it based on the concept that you go here, it's easy to discover the categories. Once you click on, in this case, lists and libraries, it opens up a panel, and you could set up easily to discover, easily to find what you need to do, with a link to additional information if you want to read more about the new feature. So the flow would be, you read a new thing in the communications center that I showed on the landing page. It says, hey, there's this new thing lighting up. It will take you to the settings page. You'll come here, find exactly what to do, and then decide in your organization, do you want to start MS Teams or not, or do you want to start new features or not? This would be the place to look for SharePoint. And with that, let me transition to Mahesh and show you real code.
So thank you, Zohar. I'm Mahesh. I'm part of the PM team at Microsoft that built this new SharePoint admin experience, and I'm really excited to share the site management settings with you. So let's see. So jumping right in. So this is the site management experience that you're currently experienced with in the classic portal. Now, if you switch to the admin center, the new admin center, as Zohar mentioned, we have borrowed heavily from the modern list experience in SharePoint sites that you're used to. And the main aim of the new site management experience is to promote ease of use and flexibility, essentially a one-stop shop for viewing and managing all the aspects of your sites. So it's like you could go ahead and you can sort in your, just like you're used to in your modern list experience. You could go ahead and filter. Say, for example, I want to see all the sites that are managed by myself with Navjot. So I just have one site. So I can clear the filters. And another thing that I would like to point out is, just like any modern list, it's an infinite scrollable list. So you don't have to now click on next, next, next as you have been previously used to. So you can just keep scrolling, and all the sites are in one place. And as Zohar mentioned, we not only have all the sites that you can see in your classic experience, but you can also see your team sites, your communication sites, and all the group managed sites. So to show that, to prove that, let me go ahead and filter on all the sites that are group managed. And here, you can see all the sites that are group managed, which are your team sites, right? And apart from all the relevant site data, we are also surfacing data related to the activity on these sites. So you could go ahead and add those columns like file counts for each of the sites, the pages viewed, the page views count, the files viewed or edited, and the URL. And you can move these columns. You can edit how you want the columns to be presented in your site management page. So you could see the breadth of information against each site that is being exposed. So all the site data and the activity on each of the site is now available on the site management page. And you could also go ahead and select the site, and you can quickly access all the relevant information related to a site, which is the information panel that we have here. So as of now, we have, so let me see how you can manage some of the settings from within the quick access page. Like you could go ahead and you can manage the primary and the site owners from within the quick access page. Say, for example, right now, let me see if I want to, there's a scenario where somebody could reach out to you and say, hey, I have some issue on this particular site collection. Could you help me out? So as an admin, I would go ahead and try to access this site. Let me see if I have access to this. Oh, I do. Sorry. Let me switch to a site in which I don't have access to it. Yeah. Let And I would want to help out the customer by trying to access this site. And hey, I don't have access to this. How can I quickly give myself access so that I can help out the customer? I could go ahead and click on Manage Admins, add myself, save, and I can see I have access to the site, and I can go and help out. And just one click away. So another scenario that I want to highlight is wherein I can go ahead and email the various primary admins of my site. So you can imagine a scenario wherein I have Zohar who's moving to a different group, and I want Zohar to transfer the access permissions of all the sites that he's managing to, say, Sesha. So I could go ahead and filter on all the sites that are being managed by Zohar, and I can select them all by clicking here, and you see this button light up on the command bar, which is email admins. I go ahead and do that, and I say, do something, do it now, and I say send. And you can see that an email is being sent to Zohar for each of the site collections. So I'd like to take a minute and quickly show how the email looks like. So this is how the email looks like. It's a communication that is started between the global admin and Zohar with the site information like site name, site URL, and I can go ahead and start communicating with them and say, hey, Zohar, move the access for these sites to Sesha. Okay? Now this is a new feature that we had introduced. And if you want to, so what we have, another one that we have done is we have introduced certain built-in views that you could go ahead and use. Like, for example, I want to see which are the least active sites in my tenant. And based on the page views and activity, it presents this. So what we're working on is you could create your own custom views and save them also, so that when you come to site management day in and day out, you don't have to add new columns, add the filters and sorts. You could save them as views, and you can use that also. And last but not least, I want to show the complete lifecycle management of sites, wherein you can create site collections and delete them also. Like, I would switch to all sites. I could choose a site, like I want to retire this site. I could go ahead and delete it. And one click, it's deleted. I want to show the site creation. So we have modernized the site creation process also from within the admin center. So you get the same team sites and communication site. And also, apart from the SharePoint users, what they can do, the team sites and communication site, you can also go ahead and create the classic sites. And the classic site creation is also a modernized experience, just like you would see in SharePoint. Right? I can go ahead and create a communication site, demo site. It checks its availability. I can set its classification internal only, and then I can say finish. And I could see that there's a notification out here that's creating it, and as soon as it's created, it's available in your site management list. So in the meantime that's creating, let's go and see if the site that I deleted is available in the recycle bin. And you can see that sometimes you want to recover the sites that you have deleted also. So you could go ahead to recycle bin, you can click on the sites that you want to restore, and you can hit restore, and it gets restored to your site management also. So apart from managing the sites based on their settings and the various activity metadata, you can also manage the life cycle of sites from within the site management page. And moving on, next part is the settings. As Zohar mentioned, we had now grouped and isolated the various settings as headings out here that you can quickly access. And a modern experience is slide out info panel, quickly manage with the radio button, and down with settings. The idea behind settings is we'll keep migrating more and more settings from the classic experience. By default, first they'll be turned off, and as we migrate all the features, they'll be turned on, and then you could go ahead and manage these discrete settings on each of your site collections, on the tenant level and the site level. Thank you. Back to Zohar.
Okay, so a quick recap on what you've seen. We are introducing side-by-side a new admin experience that would be the journey that we're starting, which would eventually replace the old admin experience that you see today. A few things to call out. It's built on the new technology that we produced for Modern List. It's extremely fast, so you're not waiting anymore, and you're supposed to be extremely efficient with this new experience. We showed you the depth. It includes all the sites now, all the site collections that are for SharePoint, including all the new sites that you don't need to go to PowerShell anymore and manage it through there. It will take a while till we take all the functionality from PowerShell and bring it in here, but at least you get a sense that all the sites would be in it. And then we also showed you the breadth. There's more and more metadata. It shows you which sites are connected to the modern groups. So you might have heard the new verb that we invented called groupify, where you could take a classic site and you could create it as a group site, and it would actually show you all the sites that are group connected, and you can then filter them and see which ones are not, and send an email for admins to go and groupify their sites. One thing we skipped that you could see, we have a column called external sharing, so you could actually filter and see exactly what are the sites that are externally shared in your organization and decide if it's legit or not, and decide if you need to interact with the site owner to tell them to reduce the scope of sharing. And there will be activities and files. Bottom line is it's the one place where we expect you to visit often and then do the management from there. Other things to call out, you've seen the framework that we built for setting and how we're going to simplify the settings. It's going to be easy to discover and easy to manage. And last we called out is the landing page, where it's going to be this portal. We'll continue to add widgets. We're shipping with these 4 that we thought are the most important right now, and there'll be more coming in the future. All that about the new Admin Center. Next, I want to share with you the things that we're doing in other places to make the administration of SharePoint as simple as possible, and that's in the space of insights. We continue to hear feedback on asking, once you move from on-prem to the cloud, you don't have IIS logs, and you don't have as much access to, and then there's this worry that you don't have as much control and visibility. So in the cloud, we offer the replacement and, in my point of view, better visibility and better understanding what's going on in your tenant. There's 2 things to call out. One is the auditing space, where you actually can see who in your organization has done what and when. And then the second is aggregated data that gives you engagement and usability, such that you can drive promotion inside the organization, and you can actually split your organization to see each one of the departments and which department is adopting SharePoint or not. So calling out a few things, this Office 365 auditing platform has been announced before, and we continue to build on top of it. SharePoint and OneDrive signals is something that we continue to instrument. There's the one significant thing we shipped this year is pages. We started the journey with giving you visibility to every file access, and now you have visibility to every page activity. So viewing page, creating page, and then also site activity. And we'll show some of that. And then this platform is actually a central place that sits inside. You get to it through the Compliance Center, and this is the place where you see all the signals across Office 365, Exchange, SharePoint, Skype for Business, and more services. 2 things to call out that are nice. One is you could plug in your hybrid. So if you want to see your activity in on-prem, this is the place where you could create and light up in SharePoint, specifically SharePoint 2016 right now. On-prem 2016 can actually push all the signals into the cloud, and this is the place you'll find it. And the second thing I would like to call out is multi-geo. We've announced OneDrive multi-geo, so if you've got your deployment and have employees in different regions and different geographies, this is one central place where you would see the signals across all geographies. It comes with 2 interfaces out of the box. One is for letting you to search, and I'll show that, and to set alerts, so you could actually set different rules, and I'll show a little of that. The second thing it comes with is an API. So if you want your data to be kept for more than 90 days, which is the default you get, or if you want to plug it into tools like Splunk or other third-party tools or proprietary tools that you've been using in your organization on-prem. You could actually plug in the management API and use all those signals and decide to retain them for longer on-premise. And with that, let me switch to show you. So in this case, I'm the global admin that Sesha, and I have access to the admin center, to the security and compliance center. In the security and compliance center, I go to auditing, and here I can run a search and see all the different activities. These are the activities you have in this interface, a simple way to filter specifically on files or folders, activities, by selecting the different events that you want and then running the search. You have a date range. You could set on specific users. This would then crawl the backend. Roughly, events show up here within 5 minutes. Most time, it takes way less. And then you'll see the events streaming in. Other things you can do is you could filter on specific events. So in this case, I decided to show you the events specifically from Europe. So I add the Europe in the URL. These are all events that are coming from the European URL. And you could get more details on who done what activity when. And last thing I want to show you in this interface is the ability to set a policy or an alert. You could do things like delete site alert and add the description, and then you have an ability to set the specific settings. You could create workflows if someone deletes a site in your organization to be notified, and then to see if it was an accident deletion or an expected deletion. So there's many alerts that you could see setting up for massive file deletions if you are worried from anomalies or patterns that you want to be notified about in your organization. This is the place where you could set it up. So that was a quick overview of auditing. And the next thing we would walk you through is reporting. Reporting is built on top of that same backend and signals. We collect all those signals and then aggregate them and put it in a cube and then show you reports. There's 3 things I want to call out in the space of reporting that we built into the reporting center. One is the out-of-the-box reports. SharePoint and OneDrive today have together 4 reports that we will show you. Here again, we added pages. So initially, we started with showing you all the activity on files. Now we show you pages as well. And we will continue to enhance and add reports to this platform. But these are all out-of-the-box reports that we delivered. If you have history of building reports yourself, or you want to be customizing some reports, which is always the ask when you see canned reports, the next thing for you to use is what we call the usage analytics framework. So this is what used to be called the Power BI pack, which is in preview today. It's shipping in early 2018. Which we will show you. It lets you do custom reports and build a lot more richer scope reports for your needs. And historically, up until last week, this was used also if you wanted to share the reports beyond the administrators, or the global administrators are the only ones that could see the reports today. So next slide, I'll actually show what we've done. Last thing I want to call out is these reports now, the signals are also showing up in the Graph API. So if you have proprietary reports you built or some third-party tools that you use, you could actually plug it into the API and you could use whatever reports you want to do. So I touched on it a little. There's a new role that we've celebrated this week called the reporting reader role. You can select a user, and then you could delegate him access to all the 3 items that I called out: the reports out of the box, the Power BI pack, or the API. And you can, feedback I've got from folks is, we want the CEO to be able to see the reports and double-click on the details without being able to administrate, delete sites, or do all the administration in Office 365. This is the role that you want to give CEOs or CEOs or anyone in your organization that needs to see reports. And with that, let me switch to show you. Mahesh will walk you through the different options.
So this is a landing page in O365 Admin Center with respect to reporting. So here you can see the various built-in reports that are across the various services on your tenant that you could access. And this is a place where you could quickly access the O365 Usage Analytics pack also. So to tie back to what Zohar had earlier shown you on the home page, we've seen a couple of reports that are lighting up on the tenant admin homepage. It's the same one that comes up from one of these built-in reports. So what you earlier saw was the SharePoint activity report, which is the same as on the homepage that you see up here. I want to talk a bit more about what you can see here is you can slice and dice across the various activities depending upon what kind of activities are happening on the files, what kind of activities are happening on the pages, and what kind of activities the various users are performing on also. So you could switch to that, and the users is an activity type. And at the bottom here, you could have a list view of all these activities that you could then export and do a detailed analysis in your favorite tool like Excel. And I also want to point out the various time windows that you can analyze this report on, like 7 days, 90 days, and 180 days. In the expo, one of the questions one of the admins shared with us was, hey, how do I quickly look at what my storage at my tenant level looks like? So this is not exposed at any other place. Like you can, on the site management page, you can look at the storage per site, but I want to see what the storage of my whole tenant looks like. So I can quickly jump into one of the built-in reports, which is a SharePoint site usage, and I could switch to the storage view, and I could say, okay, this is how my storage looks like over the past 80 days, and do I have to perform any action as a tenant admin to manage the storage of my tenant? So here you can see that around a few weeks ago, there was some management activities done wherein a lot of unused sites were deleted and we could manage the storage. So these built-in views are effectively been provided. It's been out there since a year, and it's seen great adoption. Now we've added more and more features. Initially started with only file-based activity. Now we've added pages and users. We've now added site-level usage also. So there's a high level about the built-in views. Another new role that Zohar talked about was a report reader role, right? So this would take me back to Power BI. So when you click on Power BI, it would take you to the, sorry, let me do that. Yeah. So to the dashboard where when I click on the Office 365 Usage Analytics, it will take me to this rich repository of reports across various services within our organization. And now a report reader administrator would essentially be looking at these reports, and I could quickly dive into, as a SharePoint tenant admin, or if I want to present an overview of how my SharePoint tenant is doing in terms of adoption, I could then create these reports that quickly tells me the adoption, the trends, the snapshot for the month, and I can also quickly access the other activities also, like say for OneDrive user activity, SharePoint user activity, and so on and so forth. So back to Zohar.
Okay, so quick recap. You've seen our investments in admin, and then we walked you through insights all the way from auditing to reporting. The final part is I want to walk you through the roadmap and what's coming. We talked about the new admin experience that is now in preview, and I'll, in a few slides from now, show you how you can decide to join if you want to join early. We've released this year signals for pages, both for auditing and for reporting. The management pack, the Power BI management pack is in preview right now. And then this is early next year. We plan to start the journey of releasing the new admin report for SharePoint. Once we treat all the feedback we're getting from the preview, and it will be in the beginning and early of next year. The Power BI pack is going to be renamed to Usage Analytics, Office 365 Usage Analytics, and it's going to be released in the beginning of the year. On the OneDrive side, the OneDrive UI, it's also getting enhancements, and we're going to enhance the landing page of the OneDrive administration UI. And last, I want to call later in Office in 2018, we're going to make the SharePoint new admin UI the default, and we're going to move more and more things over to the new experience, and then you'll always have the ability to go back to the old experience if there's settings that you're used to that are missing. Other than that, the OneDrive multi-geo that I skipped is also going to ship in 2018, and we're going to continue to enhance the experience for the UI, the admin experience that we just showed you. So, quick recap. You've seen the new experience that is shipping that is aimed to make the SharePoint administrators much, much, much more efficient. And this is a journey that we'll continue to invest in and build on. I'd like you to take photos of this and register on our new form. It's asking you for putting the tenant and just the contact information. And then we will cap the preview at some point and probably lock it soon and open it up again around the end of the year. And we will start rolling out the new capabilities once we treat all the feedback from preview. And last and most important thing, if you did sign up for preview, then just like this slide, click on the feedback button. This would give you an experience in the new experience like this, where we ask you to provide feedback, and that's exactly the feedback we're looking for in the preview. Another slide worthwhile taking picture. This is additional sessions that happen this week that go a little bit deeper into multi-geo and into security and compliance and into auditing and reporting. Most of these have happened. Some of these are about to happen. The My Ignite app lets you see the recording. And we'll open up for questions. The last thing is if you leave before the questions, then please fill up the survey. We learned from your feedback. So we're looking for feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, just walk to the... Anyone asking question, we need folks to walk to the mic because this is getting recorded.
Is this new interface available for on-premises also?
It's a great question. So the question is, are we shipping the new admin experience for on-prem? Currently, the plan is to keep it online.
I have a question about the groups. You mentioned Groupify. I'm over here.
Yes, thank you, sorry. Yes.
You mentioned groupifying SharePoint sites.
Yeah.
So does that just mean adding the group capabilities to SharePoint, or is it actually transferring the current SharePoint into a group? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there's a session that they walked through in more details that Tejas did yesterday. In essence, what it does is once you decide to groupify a site, a classic site, it goes to the Azure Active Directory and informs it to create a group, looks for the name. Hopefully the name is available. If it's not, it appends some _1 or something to the group. And once it's created as an Office 365 group in AAD, then all the other workloads read from that and create an instance. So you would get a DL in Exchange, and you will get Skype for Business, and you get all the other capabilities that come with the group.
So if the site is a site with some subsites, how does it work with that?
The parent site collection, the root, would become the group container, and the subsite will continue to exist.
Can the subsites be groupified on their own?
Yeah, so the question is, can the groupify functionality work on subsites? The answer is no, it only works on the root site collection. I'm answering actually questions for Tejas, but this is all in his session.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
The settings of the site management settings page looks pretty good. Is there the ability to export that to Excel?
It's a perfect question. So I would call out there's a few gaps we know of today and we're working on. They're in the pipeline. I've seen the code already, but we're not ready to light it up. The two to call out, because the next question would be about search. We're adding a search capability where you could actually search for a single site that doesn't exist there today. And the other one is export to Excel, where you'll be able to filter and create a list that you want and then export it to the client.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned that global admins have access to all this. What about if you're only a SharePoint admin?
So when I was doing the demo, I used two accounts. Sesha was the global admin, and Zohar, myself, was the SharePoint admin. Everything you've seen on the new admin experience is SharePoint admin. It gives you access to the new admin portal. It gives you access to the reporting. So you get to see all the reporting that you've seen. The only thing it doesn't let you do yet is go to the auditing. So for that, we're still in conversations on how do we want to treat that. So you would need extra global or compliance and security admin access to go to the Security and Compliance Admin Center. Yes?
Yes, is there a way to see by site collection how much is in the recycle bins of the site broken out? Or is that still reflective in the total site collection?
So the admin experience recycle bin only shows you site collections that have been deleted. And when you go to the site management delete sites, they would show up in the recycle bin. You're asking if there's other information that we should show there?
On the report where it showed storage by SharePoint site collection,
Yes.
does it, for a specific site collection, will it show of that amount how much is in that site collection recycle bin?
That's great feedback. It doesn't today.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good
Because we
feedback.
could do a massive cleanup, but that number won't change for 30
Yeah.
days, right?
This is something we should work on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for this new admin center. It's so much better. I'm pretty limited by licenses. Is this anything with P1, P2, E5's requirements? Or is everything here is available for normal
Everything here
E1,
is
E3?
available for E1, E3, E5.
Thank you.
Hi. On the new admin reader report role you've got out, is that going to be restricted to Power BI users, or can anybody who's got access to 365 use those usage reports?
It's available for any individual, and you just set it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, thank you for showing up. Please fill up the feedback for this session and then enjoy the rest of Ignite.
Thank you.